Salutations, Bruins, and welcome back to Pulse TV. I'm Marley.
And I'm CJ, and here's what's brewing next week. On Monday, we have a tennis tournament, a math club competition, varsity and JV baseball, boys soccer versus Jordan, boys lacrosse versus Clearfield.
On Tuesday, we have softball versus Lone Peak, as well as varsity and JV baseball versus Lehigh.
On Wednesday, track is competing against Hippanogus, sophomore baseball is playing against Skyridge, with varsity and junior varsity playing Hunter. Girls lacrosse is also playing Jordan.
On Thursday, we have softball versus Uinta and boys volleyball versus Lone Peak.
On Friday, we have our jazz band going to perform at Alta State Jazz Festival at 7:30 a.m. And we have our boys volleyball competing in day one of the Pleasant Grove tournament at 3 p.m. And we have our senior one acts in the Little Theater at 7 p.m.
On Saturday, we have our track at the Pineview Invitational in St. George. We also have our boys volleyball competing in day two of the Pleasant Grove tournament at 5 p.m. Boys soccer will be playing at Salem Hills, sophomores will play at noon, varsity will play at 1:30. Lastly, we have our prom at Electric Park and Thanksgiving Point at 8 p.m., so make sure you have your tickets.
Howdy Bruins, welcome back to the Den. Today we're interviewing another film student who went to the Student Television Network National Conference down in Tampa. So tell us your name and tell us what you did down there.
I'm Ty Deegan. I was with Short Film. We made a great film. We were there for a couple days, filmed a lot. It was really fun.
Take us through that process of filming that short film.
Filming that short film, we had a lot of planning to do. We had to plan everything that we wanted to do, all the props and the shots and whatnot. And once we actually got there, we were able to set up our scene, shoot what we wanted to, make it look really nice. And we ended up getting second place and showing everyone who's boss.
Sweet. That's pretty good. Were you involved in any other film projects down there?
I was involved with action film, and they did really great. I was just one of their extras in the background, which ended up making the story fit really well, and we did so well that I wish we would have gotten first place, but we ended up coming back with a really good film that we're proud of.
That's awesome. See you, Bruins.
Hey Bruins, welcome back to Special Report.
I'm sure you've heard about the war between Russia and Ukraine. However, most people fail to research why the conflict is happening in the first place.
Originally, when the Soviet Union was being dissolved in 1991, there were a lot of treaties in regards to things that individual nations could and couldn't do after they broke from the Union. Since Ukraine was originally in the Union, they fell under the rules, and one of these agreements was that they wouldn't collaborate with NATO, essentially.
Sometime later, Ukraine had some nukes left over from the Union, which they returned to Russia in exchange for a promise not to be invaded.
However, when the disputes of Crimea came about, in which they also violated international treaty, they had a major disagreement with Russia over it. Following that, they started to cooperate with NATO for protection in violation of the treaty again, which somewhat caused Russia to retaliate by breaking the promise for peace they made to Ukraine a while ago, as well as breaking the same treaties they had set in place for everyone else.
That's all we have for this week, Bruins. See you next time.